Welcome back. Joining us is a regular here at the studio. He is a Monday regular guest. He is an advocate, a solicitor of the Notary Public of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, Manke Tane Adubabari Esquire. It's a pleasure to have you here with us, sir. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so very kindly.
Thank you for being here. We always appreciate your presence here at the studio. Delta State government has banned civil and public servants in the state from overseas study. Also, officers granted study leave abroad will no longer receive salaries during their period of study. The directive aimed at curbing the misuse of overseas study leave was issued in a circular by the Delta State Civil Service Commission. The state government said it has observed an increasing number of officers using overseas study leave approvals as a means to evade their duties. The circular accused some officers of traveling abroad for studies and never returning back to the country, while others resigned without fulfilling their contractual obligations. To address this issue, Governor Sharif Oborewori has directed that civil servants seeking study leave must enroll in Nigerian institutions if the course of study is available locally. Additionally, officers granted study leave abroad will no longer receive salaries during their period of study, the circular stated. The circular also stated that senior officers in ministries, departments, and agencies would be held responsible for enforcing those directives and could face penalties for unearned salaries paid for non-compliant officers. Let me get your thoughts on this quickly, Barrister Manki, first off, before I make a statement over it, please.
Okay. If you listen very carefully, you will understand that there has been an observation, and this position is being taken against the backdrop of abuse. You understand?
Yes.
That the process has been abused. And I think it's a right step if it is taken to tackle that abuse. Now, virtually, there is the purpose is to be to advance, step up the knowledge base of the individual. I will tell you practically, our academic system here is outdated. Many may not believe it. If you go to our school here and check, most of the things being taught are outdated. There are things that are inside the dustbin. While in the Western, because there's nobody that is talentless. We are all talented. There are things God gave us. What education is supposed to be is to act like a kind of fire, like what you may call a kind of engine. Because if you talk about sea travel, it is the horsepower that determines the speed of the boat on the sea.
Yes.
So that is what education is supposed to do. It's supposed to fire up that our innate ability and enable us to be useful to the system. And it also helps us to the extent that we fine-tune it, domesticate that our talent in terms of the current reality and the direction. But that is not the case. If you go to school now and interact with majority of the graduates, they are still going to school to get paper to apply to work. Meanwhile, in the Western world, the system teaches you to come out as an entrepreneur. It brings you out as a job creator. Here, you see people carrying PhD. Some of them, when you interact with them, you realize they are blank and empty. That aside, all they have in mind is that if you ask them why are they going to school, they are going to school to apply to get a job position. Sometimes, actually, we need a very serious mental shift. Now, what is going on? They are using this system as a means of jabbing, like moving out of the system. He also recorded that some of them don't even return. Then some other persons, if a person is genuinely interested in that, apart from the fact that if they are to offer that, it must be a course within the Nigerian, virtually, except courses like aeronautic engineering and some very serious courses. If not, there's virtually no course that is here. Then you look at it, you ask yourself, what is the quality of lecturers we have here? The whole system has been bastardized by the political class. I can tell you that. That's why you have professors who have no invention to their credit. And politicians are able to manipulatively turn them into electoral fraud validators. That's why I'm very afraid when they advocate that there should be creation of new institutions. They are looking for where they will create people that they will use for their electoral fraud. The moment the intention is bad, the end product will be bad. The moment the intention is bad, if you use fertilizer to plant or enhance growth of a crop for instance, agricultural product, the product that will come out of that three will reflect and cannot compete with one that is grown in an organic environment. I give you an example. For example, let's say cucumber. Cucumber that is grown in a fertilized environment, you can't compare it to a cucumber that is grown in an environment that has organic manure. The one that will organic manure, you just put it under the dew. It's active. It can stay for a long time. The one that you pluck from a fertilizer environment, the next day it will start getting, it will rot. So that is exactly what is on the ground. First, what is the purpose of their moving? They are using it as a means of robbing the system and moving out. They do not have the system at heart. So it's quite unfortunate that this is the kind of situation that we find ourselves. And if these will be able, in fact, like some people have suggested, which I believe, if there is a stop of medical tourism, we will focus on our medical medicine. I just lost a dear brother just this week. I went to UPTA yesterday just to find out, because it was in a military hospital. They recommended that he should be transferred for further care. Only to get to UPTA yesterday, they told me he died Saturday morning.
Sorry.
What happened to him? From what I'm discovering now, if there was a proper system in place, the guy would have survived. Because he battled for at least a week. Battling to survive. The first time they got to UPTA, they said no bed space. Finally, they said, okay, you can hang on this bed until somebody moves. They put carton there. A teaching hospital. If you understand, that's why I always tell you here that just pray every morning that may Nigeria, as presently constituted,
you actually been making the prayers for me.
May it never
this
happen
prayer
to you.
is for me.
I mean what I'm saying.
Amen.
So that is just it. It's so sad that this is what is going on. I hope the man is sincere about it, and then to be able to reserve some fund for the administration and for other projects. I think that's what I'm going to say.
Okay, thank you on that, Barrister Mikey. Well, with the issue of Japa, we can see how it's skyrocketing. If you go to the embassy in Lagos, you will marvel at, oftentimes most people sleep there just to wait for the appointment time of how the immigration issue and all of that. You know, you just marvel. I've said this most times about people that I know firsthand that decided to sell most of their vast properties, assets that they have in Nigeria, just to leave the country. You know, oftentimes most of them do not leave because of overseas study. Some of them just feel like reasons with I want the worth of my work, you know, to be the same as the wage I get in return. Like they give excuses of when you work in Nigeria, you do not get the value of what you put out there. You know, in other countries, in developed countries, whatever you do, you get the same value or even more of whatever you do. You know, and all of that reasons. You know, for the Delta State government to take on this decision, you know, like you stated about the educational sector, that most of the facilities that they need to foster education, even the curriculum, is not a favorable one. You know, imagine a student that wants to study biochemistry and you do not have facilities for practical sections. You just learn the theory and you do not have that other knowledge of, you know, all the practical sector, or a surgeon. You know, all of that. And there are some facilities in the country that there's some institutions that will actually have few of these facilities, which are the private universities. You know, the government ones do not have most of them in place. You know, and let's look at the other parts of staffs or civil servants that decide to leave, you know, in this kind of instance. Often, most of them will rather say, I do not care of the repercussions of this, as far as I'm going out of this country to, you know, get peace of mind to an extent. I've heard someone say that once you leave Nigeria, you just have this breath of fresh air, you know, for some period of time, because it's like there's this thing in the air. But I really don't know. I think it's just a personal mindset. But in as much as they've decided to ban the overseas study for courses that are in Nigeria, the courses have to be looked into. There are certain curriculums that you check that they're not necessary to be there. Lecturers that are also teaching these courses are not really well equipped, you know, in all of that cases. So this stand that the Delta State government has taken, I will also want to get elaboration on this more, on if it's for the good of the state, or it's just more on a political aspect.
Well, to me, like, there's something you pointed out there. You know, naturally, like here in River State, we had River State University of Science and Technology before. The reason for that university was to meet the peculiar need of this area. But unfortunately, that was not done because of politics. Petrochemical graduates, in fact, they are supposed to be complete platform for refining petroleum product on campus by way of practical. So that, you know, there is this what we call campus shuttle. That is where you're supposed to have the cheapest means of transportation on campus. That's where you're supposed to have the cheapest means of feeding on campus. You just drive to petrochemical department and then they will sell you fuel. That's how it's supposed to be. But people go through the university without seeing a platform that produces fuel, and they are issued certificate. In fact, most of these boys go to these local refiners to learn the practical process. Because there are some of these things that require practical base foundation. If without the practical, it's useless. So what is really going on? Now, if you are looking at it from the other angle, the question will be, what is the quality? Because we have DERSU. What is the quality of the academic system that is on ground there? Because if the state, if somebody needs to go for further study, it should be within the state. Because the money that the government is spending is coming back to the state. It's supposed to be within the state, not outside. So what is the quality of the lecturers that are there? Most of the lecturers are just politicians. The same thing that's happened to the judiciary, that's what has happened to the academic system. I told you last time, the academic university is supposed to be a knowledge-based export center, where people export knowledge, where people export discoveries. People come in there to check for ideas that they can partner with and make money. But the reverse is the case. Just paperwork. And most of the ideas they are churning out are outdated, not relevant, because you are supposed to domesticate the idea you have. How would it be useful to your own system? How would it help the system? Like you talk about the civil service. Most of the people in this hanging at the corridor of the civil service, they ought not to be there with technology. One person can sit down on this table and do the work. Okay, like this is on a studio, this is a television station. In studio today, you can have one person on the console handling the music, everything at a go. Before you see several persons on the console, this one is doing this one, this one is doing this one, this one is doing that. No, all that is gone. Things have changed. One person will just sit down here and do everything, put things together. That is how things have moved. So you go to the civil service, you check what is going on. When you hear, like last time we were talking about pension, the world system has advanced to the point that even years ahead, one is supposed to know when he's retiring, how much is going to be paid. This thing, they will just send it into the system to give you with mathematical. They will write your check and keep with date. And when your day reach, they give you your check. If they want to build for you, let's say low cost housing scheme, government can do it. But the whole system has been bastardized. I told you here too. Every day you wake up, if you do not fight for the safety of your mental, you know, framework, you can, depression is hanging around you. Right? Like it is now. If you check within my office axis on Friday, what happened in this country, which I prefer to call judicial supermarket, you notice that something is fundamentally wrong somewhere. You can feel it. A lot of people are already depressed because their hope is dashed. But like I always tell people, I'm an incurable optimist. I will never give up. So back to the issue. it is both back and forth. You may look at it that it's a reaction on the part of the government if there is no adequate facility on ground to take care of it. But if they have adequate facility on ground to take care of it, find a way.
Thank you so much, and this, Barrister Mankey. Thank you on your thoughts on that. Moving forward, Lagos State House of Assembly has directed all staff and legislative aides to work remotely, and with further notice due to the ongoing leadership crisis in the legislative arm. The directive was issued on Sunday by the acting clerk of the Assembly, Babatunde Abubakar, in a memo addressed to all staff. The move, according to the memo titled Amendment to Remote Work Schedule Arrangements, aims to ensure staff safety and prevent any potential violence stemming from the leadership dispute. To this end, all categories of staff at the Assembly, LAHASCOM, and legislative aides are requested to work remotely from home until further notice, the memo stated. It further assured workers of the commitment of the new Speaker, Mojisola Meranda, to their safety and a peaceful resolution of the crisis. The Assembly has been engulfed in turmoil following the removal of former Speaker Mudashiru Albasa and ex-clerk Olalekan Onafeko by 32 lawmakers on January 13, 2025. Obasa was replaced by his former deputy Miranda as a substantive speaker. Obasa has rejected his removal as unconstitutional and on February 27 stormed the assembly complex with heavy security, broke into the speaker's office and resumed duty. And there was this statement I had while he was moving. They were calling him actor. I really don't know, why the praises was actually meant on him. But I'd love to get your thoughts on this, please.
Well, it's part of the drama. I've told you that Nigeria is a theater of absurdities in motion, and so it's part of the drama. I blame everything that's going on squarely on the judiciary. And I'm not a prophet of doom, but let me fire this warning shot that a day of judgment is coming. I say that with firmness, that a day of judgment is coming in this country. Because all that is going on is happening based on the body language of the president of this country. That was his control zone. Lagos, where people told us, Bola Tinubu build Lagos, Bola Tinubu build Lagos, and I jokingly said, when he imposed himself on Nigeria, and they said, okay, build Nigeria, suddenly they say cement has finished. It's as funny as that. We had all the back and forth concerning this Lagos issue. It's a show of shame, and it's what they want to plant around the country. That people can manipulate even the judiciary. People can manipulate the judiciary. Come on. I am seeing a situation wherein there is gradual entrenchment of criminality around few individuals. And nothing seems to be happening. It's a complete show of shame. That's where we are. The law is being manipulated and destroyed. And I always say this. What people don't know is this. When you take undue advantage of the law to your advantage, when you manipulate the law to your advantage, just wait. Few meters ahead. That thing you did is standing and waiting for you. This is one thing that so many people do not know.
There was a statement that was made by Atiku Abubakar, the former presidential candidate of the 2023 elections, that Tinubu should speak over this because he had to slam Tinubu over his silence, considering this Lagos Assembly crisis that has been going on, because like you stated, this is a state, and then as the president of the country, you cannot say, it's just like when they say you can't chase rats when your house is on fire. Yeah. And as the head of the family, there's something they say, okay, no, in Igbo, that's like an elder cannot be at home while your goat is held in tita, like it's held in that thing, you know, the thing that the rope they have to use to hold the goats and all of that. It's more like an elder being at home and your house is on fire and you're not doing anything about it, you know, in this instance. I would just want to know, why do you think the president has been silent over this issue for a long time? You know, this matter did not start now. Yes, even after the impeachment and all of that, there was a time that the Assembly actually wrote to the DSS for the DSS to employ, you know, security operatives to the Assembly, because they had hints that Obasa was going to come with his security operative. But along the line, the DSS actually came, but it was more like they were more on his side than Miranda's side, you know, in that kind of instance. So I just want to know, do you think the impeachment was out of place? And then the decision that Obasa had to take, forcefully coming back into office, you know, and all of that issue?
We are in a complete state of lawlessness. If you don't know that, here, take it from me and take me serious. The crisis that has engulfed Rivers State today, I place it on the corridor and table of the president of Nigeria. Sadly, the protagonist of the crisis is somebody that the person who moved out of office for him to come in said about him that he can betray the mother for money. That is a very serious statement about the character of an individual. So, if the president can cause the crisis that is in Rivers State, what moral capacity does he have that he can talk about?
Why do you think the president is part of the Rivers State crisis? If I'm not really going into that, but in this instance, it's a different kind of scenario.
Why I'm bringing it in is, you know, we have Nigeria on its own, then we have states. The components. It's supposed to be federating units, kind of. But we are not running any federalism here. That's the truth about it. In fact, we are not running any democracy. Anybody who thinks that we are in democracy is in delusion. But what we have here is an aberration. Now, if you look at it, there's what we call body language, which is very much in fall. People are paying attention to it. A father who is morally bankrupt, there are advice he cannot churn out to the children. Because the children knows him very well. A wife beater or abuser cannot advise the children on how to be friendly with their wife, or when they are married, how to treat their wife. The children, in fact, if you watch the children very well, you will see their own reaction. You know, there's a difference between response and reaction. You will not see their response, you see their reaction instantly. It's like asking him, do you have the moral authority? When it happened in Rivers State, I gave a warning. It's happening there. You saw what was happening there. Is it Ogun State?
Oshun.
You saw the drama. We talked about that day. And I said, this is the D-Day now. Let's watch out and see what will happen. You saw what played out. And these are the kind of crises. There's what we call testing water. It's a principle. These are the kind of crises that they want to create towards 2027. Some of them have moved their wife already to court of appeal. And I asked, what is the criteria for moving somebody to court of appeal? Is it not supposed to be excellent? Some of them have moved their wife to court of appeal in preparation for 2027 election. But I don't see any 2027 election coming. I don't see it. If care is not taken, Nigeria will end up in full-blown revolution. That's the truth. The president is just behaving like a hyena, waiting for other strong animals like the lion, tiger, and a leopard to kill the animal. Then they will not come in their group. Look at what happened in Rivers State. Look at the statement he made about the Rivers crisis. Now they have used the court as a judicial supermarket, Supreme Court at that. A show of shame. You will see similar thing happen in this Lagos case, because by the body language, the president is behind this person who broke office and entered, and nobody could say anything to him. It's unfortunate, very sad. This thing, if care is not taken, it will end in full-blown revolution. That's why they are keeping people who are potential victims out of the scene. My prayer for them is that whatever they sow, may they reap. That's all I can say.
Thank you on this, Barrister Mankey. Moving forward, Middle Belt Forum MPF has condemned the closures of both private and public schools in some Sahara practicing states of northern Nigeria. Luka Beniyat, the forum's spokesperson, in a statement on Sunday said, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu must exercise his authority to prevent these states from descending into religious fundamentalism. President Tinubu must learn from his president and take a firm stand to safeguard the rights and privileges of all non-Muslims against the oppressive effects of Sahara-based policies. The forum protested the closure of both private and public schools in certain Sahara practicing states of northern Nigeria, saying that it is unfortunate that the closure of schools is also binding on Kebbi and Southern Bauchi, which are bona fide parts of the Middle Belt. He said that it is deeply unjust and non-Muslim students and the people should suffer significant setback in their education simply because Muslims in these states wish to fulfill their religious obligations. There's been certain criticism over these decisions by the Bauchi and Kebbi state governments by putting closing schools for the 5 weeks of the Ramadan session in order for them to, the children, the students, to the Muslims, the practicing ones, to, fast properly, and involved in the Ramadan season that they are actually on. In this country, Nigeria is not a full practicing Muslim country, if you may ask me. There are different types of religions, and if I may recall, there's something they call freedom of religion in the Nigerian constitution, freedom of rights of religion and all of that. This decision that has been taken by the northern states government, if you may ask me, I think it's not necessary, considering the fact that the educational sector is not really what it's still supposed to be. We're trying to really patch it, if you may ask me, to try to make it meaningful, to make the sector build more of this future generation that we are waiting for, and imbibe more educational qualities in them. Putting this at heart. Imagine a child staying out of school for 5 weeks, if you may ask me. I feel it's unnecessary, and for this particular reason, because Christmas period, none of this happened, and that is for a period of time where everybody is considered to take a holiday for a certain period of time. But this is a school period. Putting school on hold is actually not necessary, if you may ask me. But I'd love to get your thoughts on this, please.
Well, you may take me serious, or you may choose not to take me serious. Strategic thinking is a rare gift, and that's ability to see ahead, ability to read what is going on. Let me say this to you. You see what happened at the Supreme Court on Friday? That is a clear prediction for what will happen in 2027. They call it, that's the principle of testing the water. That's what I've said it in one studio some time ago, that when law is converted and used as instrument of suppression, repression, and oppression, you know that revolution is around the corner. That's exactly where we are heading. I can tell you clearly, it is the National Assembly they will use to declare Nigeria an Islamic state. Mark what I'm telling you today. Mark it somewhere. Just mark it. All they are getting Muslim ticket. That is already cleared. It is Bola Tinubu who said any day that he decides to pursue Muslim ticket, that God should curse him and his family. They have brought in that. These are the same people that open gate for Islamic fundamentalists who come from Sahel, and they came to Nigeria, and they are killing Nigerians, and federal government developing blind eyes towards them. It is this same government that have exalted cattle above human beings and their rights. What do you want again? Nigeria is supposed to be a secular state. That's why I say we are not practicing democracy. With what happened in Friday, there's no rule of law here. What we have in Nigeria now is judicial supermarket. They will even use the court. You heard of the story of the hijab. It is the code they are going to use to Islamize Nigeria fully, unless people rise up and say, let's go our way.
Okay, if I make an issue of Barrister Mankey, talking about rising up, it's not just about making statements here and there and condemning certain certain statements, certain words that or decisions that have been made by most of those government organizations. You know, even most of those the governments, the statements that are made by governments. At some point, do you think this rise up issue would come up, because this is one out of many issues that they have agencies, ministries, commissions, and all of that have come to condemn certain decisions that the government has taken that affect individuals that they serve. You know, at some point, do you think that that rise up issue would actually take place?
See, let me tell you. Unfortunately, it's just like the poverty that we have. This poverty that we have in Nigeria is clearly avoidable. It is part of the twin principle of federalism: poverty and ignorance. These are the two twin principles of federalism. And what poverty does is this: it doesn't respect you. It's like it's just like immorality. Your education does not matter. The moment you dive into immorality like pornography and the rest of them, the effect is the same. It will wreck your mental focus. There are some things you will suffer. I can tell you, there are spiritual and physical implications which you must fall to. It's like somebody who is in a kind of who made a wrong decision in marriage. It will make a mess of your intelligence. It will make a mess of your background. It will make a mess of your religion. It will make a mess of so many things about you. And finally, it will bring you down. So, the same way, the moment you are a victim of poverty, your brain shifts from what we call significance thinking to survival mentality. And the moment what is of concern to you is survival. It's all when Abi came. All those people that gathered there, they are the beneficiaries of his wickedness. That's why they're able to raise about 17 billion. All the money they made, they have captured. Nelson Mandela said it in 2007. He said he's worried about Nigeria is a situation wherein those in position of authority and trust, they have converted the public wealth into their private wealth. They steal the wealth that belongs to the people and convert them as theirs. You must have heard of somebody who stole the money of this state and turned it into his private decision, and now Supreme Court have validated that criminality. And young men are jumping up and down behind him. And I laugh, because destruction is very easy. I know somebody that was here that if he were here, what is happening in this state, so many people would have died by now. So what you watch at is this. We have a government that, I say, we are lucky here. People that are being killed in the north like fowl, in the middle belt, Benway and the rest of them. You know, at the beginning of the killing, they were burying them in style. After some time, I came from a traditional background. We know how we plant yam. After some, why you know that people are planting yam, you see stump, small stump. Each of them are each this thing. They started, they graduated from that stage to mass burial. You will not see any stump again to represent tomb. They now open the ground and bury people. A government that supports such thing, and you are hoping that they will abide with democratic principle, they open gate for foreign terrorists to come into Nigeria. Unless and until the people come to a point of dissatisfaction, like the children of Israel in Egypt, a day came they became dissatisfied and said things cannot continue this way. And let me warn, when revolution will start, you see lawyers and judges, you know, we come from the same stock.
Yes.
From the same table, haven't been called to bar. You now have a two springboard of bench and the bar. Some remain at the bar. Some move up to be on the bench. This platform, everybody who is a product of this platform cannot escape, because the problem in Nigeria now is squarely on the corridor of lawyers and judges. When the people say no, there are judges that are going to be retired. They will pay them off, and they should die with their knowledge. With what has happened in Supreme Court now, anybody who is having hope in the justice system should just go and bury his idea, because this thing they did on Friday is what they will do in 2027. So it is left for Nigerians. I was denying my PVC. All my details are with INEC. What will now happen is that Nigerians, we have to come up, because as we are talking now, there is virtually none of us that don't have a card, smart card for transaction. We must have our smart card. There are companies that will do this thing within weeks. They can even add ability to vote as part of our what do you call it, smart card that we get from the bank. Okay. It's putting it into this thing. At the point of the financial crisis in this country, based on BVN, if the mark is that you must withdraw 10,000 naira per day, take one of your cards, go and withdraw 5,000. Use the next one, go and withdraw 5,000 from another bank. Use the next one, it will tell you you have exceeded your limit for the day because you have withdrawn 10,000. If electronic can check human beings to that, there's no way you go about it except you go and withdraw money from a private source like POS. Do you understand? You know, you can't get anything with your legitimate card. We can have electronic voting in this country.
Yes.
The moment we have electronic voting, all these criminals parading themselves as leaders, those that belong to the group I call majority criminal-minded, self-imposed political opportunists in the name of leaders in Nigeria, they will be, all their wings will be cut off overnight. Because, and I hope that the governor of Rivers State can take advantage of that. He should appoint a reset that will make it compulsory that they will start from Rivers State. The revolution should start from Rivers State electronically. Everybody that will vote in local government this thing will be electronic means. Or they bring in Humphrey Wosu's procedure. Say line up. And then let's see who will come and kill everybody. They are no more than the majority. It's always like that in any society. So to me, we're in a very messy situation. As I speak to you now, there are some parts, even in Rivers State here, that people cannot go to their farms. Cattle feed everywhere. Until the people say enough is enough, it will continue. The day that people in a community say we will all die this night, the criminal will stay off. I'm telling you the gospel truth. When people are ready to die, see, let me tell you, there's nobody that is not afraid in exam hall. Anybody who enters exam hall is afraid. Won't be tired if what you read did not come out. You will sweat by force. It is then you will migrate to look at questions that have A, B, C, D. And then you now see how you can mop marks. Because what you read did not come out. It's natural. So no man is like giving in free hold. We are all tenant. Like this testing of the water. If Nigerians keep quiet at what has happened in Rivers State, they will move to another state. You see what happened in Rivers State as assembly crisis. What a single man is doing in this state. Want to take over the treasury. And I've asked people, they should tell me part of the constitution that provided that somebody can capture the state treasury as his private enterprise. And you see some educated people say he must obey his master. I think something is wrong with a lot of us. What I'm saying in essence is that people must get to a point of dissatisfaction and say enough is enough. If not, evil will continue. That is exactly what the people have to see. Let me tell you, this economic holocaust that is happening, if Nigeria decide today and say we want Nigeria to refine our crude oil locally, stop kidding these boys, set up modern refineries for them, Nigerians can give government of Nigeria 1 month ultimatum. I am telling you, they are going to produce enough refined product in this country that will serve our purpose. But in as much as we are not ready, we are dancing to the voice of the marketers, dancing to the voice of people like Dangote, that economic monster, because his brand of monopoly is not accepted in any part of the world. And then the NNPCL that is serving the purpose of Bola Tinubu, the petroleum minister. If we have not gotten to the point of dissatisfaction with this ongoing evil against us, this will continue to be. But the day we say enough is enough, changes around us and it will happen.
So in essence, after all this analysis you've made, in essence is this closures of schools for 5 weeks, it's not something that speaking against condemnation will
part
actually
of the Islamic
withdraw.
agenda. See, let me tell you this. I talk about the principle of testing the water, right? Even children in the house, they do that. They will do a particular thing and watch at the body language of the parents. That's why when a wife feels that she's losing control, where there's unity between husband and wife, immediately she will adopt the weapon, say, okay, say I'm not relevant, don't worry, let your dad come. You will see shift of batting automatically. They say, mommy, please, what are you saying? Okay, give me double of the portion of the work, I will do it. I will do it because you have mentioned daddy. But when the child knows that if you report, nothing will happen, forget it. You lose your respect completely. All these things you are seeing, they are Islamic, they are entrenchment of Islamic principles. And a time will come. Do you not see people destroying economic properties of people under the guise of Islamic police? They destroy their beer, destroy everything. When I was in university, I have a friend from Gambia. They are Muslim. When they travel and stay in their apartment in the staff quarter, they trusted me. I don't have any problem with them. I don't have any problem with any Muslim buying down, worshiping his God anywhere. I don't have any issue. Go to Israel. Those who go to the mosque, go. Those who, the Jewish religion, they go. They do their prayer. They are all armed. They have something that brings them together. If we do not belong together, like what is happening in the East, there's no way you preach anything to me and talk about justice in this country. All these things you are seeing, they are Islamic tendencies. They are testing the water. When they test the water, they will use the law to back it. Like the evil that the Supreme Court are backed in Rivers State. In fact, they even made mistake. They should have said that if Amewure does not accompany the governor, that any project is inaugurating should be useless. It's quite unfortunate and sad. So when they will test this thing and nothing happen, they will not enforce it. Mark what I'm telling you today. This is the principle of testing the water. That's what they are doing. Because as we are saying, Nigerians are being killed. Indigenous population are being wiped out from their communities, and foreigners are taking over. Foreigners, not Nigerians, so foreigners. And then the Nigerian army will be crying that foreign terrorists are coming in and they are killing their members. Instead of protecting the interest, touch one cow. The Eboy killing that happened, they said they killed one cow. Check the number of houses that were burnt and destroyed. Government don't do anything about it. So there's what we call de facto and there's what we call de jure. De facto is what is real. The reality is that I am on this table. Here, we are both here now. But in the eyes of the law, we may not be seen. That's what we call de jure. So in reality, Nigeria is an Islamic country waiting for declaration. All the signs are there. And this one is another sign too. Nigeria ought to be a secular state. Even in Rivers, you are supposed to have a mosque. No problem about that. Those who belong there, they go and worship at their time. But you cannot force me to belong to your religion. What is happening now is a force. These are people that are stealing majority of money in this country. But what have they done with it? You see poverty dominant in their own area. So for me, my call is for Nigerians. We have to rise up and say enough to this nonsense. Actually, the system of the law has failed already. So what are you waiting for? Thank
you so much, and this Barrister Vanki. Thank you on your thoughts. Well, we'll go on a quick break. When we return, we will continue with the rest of the stories. To stay with us. Welcome back. Nigeria Labour Congress on Sunday directed its affiliates to be on alert for mass action if the federal government implements the telecommunications services charge contrary to the term agreed by the 10-man committee. The decision was taken by the National Executive Council of the NLC during a meeting in Yola, Adamawa State, where the Congress inaugurated its compressed natural gas-driven mass transit buses for the Northeast Zone and discussed the economic challenges facing Nigerian workers. This was disclosed in a statement released on Sunday. The NLC warned that any further increase in electricity tariffs would be met with strong resistance. Having extensively discussed these essential threats to the working class and the broader Nigerian masses, NEC in session resolves as follows. On the 35% tariff hike in telecommunications services, NEC acknowledges the agreement reached on February 21, 2025 between the Nigeria Labour Congress and the federal government through the joint 10-man committee, which reduced the initially proposed telecommunications tariff hike from 50% to 35%. The NLC and the federal government have been in a series of meetings over the recent hike in telecommunication tariffs by telecom companies in the country. This is another threat from the NLC over electricity and telecom tariff hike. But I'd love to get your thoughts on this, Barrister Mankey, considering the fact that at the time when they had plans to protest on first March, they had plans to protest, and the FG decided to have discussions with them, and they had to go through 2 weeks review over the issue of the electricity and telecom hike, and after everything, the telecos decided to still increase on the 50% tariff hike as they stated, and up till now, I'm sorry about that, up till now, well, Nigerians are still agitating over it because of the economic hardship in the country. NLC has come back to threaten nationwide protests over this tariff hike and electricity, telecom, and all of that. Please, I'd love to get your thoughts on this, please.
Unfortunately, the NLC has failed. They failed from the word go. I always tell people, beware of compromise. But the leadership of the NLC did not know the consequences of their compromise. And the reason why they are going the way they are going, they don't want to be exposed by the federal government. Because this government operates by the principle of gaslighting. So they know where they compromise. And they are also, last time I told you here, that it was even, I suspect that it is even the leadership of NLC that proposed this 10-man committee to save their faces. Because this government is so ruthless, they will tell you that this is how much they collected. They will even print the statement of account. It was so evident that the leadership of NLC compromised. Okay, was there no extant this thing that before tariff on petroleum will be removed, which we call subsidy, will be removed, that all the refineries should be made functional? What did NLC do about that one? And they don't know that that is the singular point that affects every other thing in the country. Last time I was analyzing, and I'll give you an example here. Without availability of petroleum products, there's no way the telco will not increase their tariffs. And let me tell NSC, to show how blind the leadership is, the money you will spend on telecom and something like PhD in 1 week will take away that 70,000 naira. And as we are talking now, I think yesterday NYC, they were protesting. They are yet to pay them the 77,000. They are still paying them 33,000. So that tells you the kind of government, because they are supposed to be government children. It tells you the kind of government that we have. Meanwhile, they are buying yachts. Do you know how much they used to renovate a vice president's house? Billions. Is it not 21 billion? It was about 15 billion. They increased it. You know how much they are earning? Nobody knows the amount that the government takes home. And most of them are created pension scheme for themselves. That's why I insist that something radical has to happen that will shake their foundation and let them know that we are not in a state of lawlessness, that we are taking enough from them. So NSC missed it on the first point by not telling Bola Tinubu as petroleum minister that you must make, in fact they should have even gone ahead to insist that the modern refineries must be made functional. All this issue now would have been secondary, because the telco company, they would have halfway, they will be have power, and you cannot do telecommunication without power. Do you know how much it takes to business center to type a page of this now is 500 naira. A piece of photocopy is now 100 naira. Do you know what that means? The naira is losing value. A bag of cement is how much? Then you are now, see what they are doing is like a family that has leprosy, and NSC is talking about ringworm. We are coming to the family meeting, and there's a report that there is leprosy in the family. NSC is saying that let's talk about ringworm first. It's madness. Elders in the family should tell them that, look, my son, you are not normal. Leprosy has the capacity of sending all of us packing from the community. Then you are talking about ringworm. What is ringworm? Ringworm that in some cases to stay and we just die off. You are playing with leprosy. The real issue, which is the foundation of this economic holocaust, that is what is defining every other thing that is happening. But the leadership is blind to it. And then they are talking about secondary issue. Somebody that is closing primary school and fraternizing with you people who are graduate that I will send you on overseas scholarship, you should think well. Because there is no future in the mind of the person who is promising you foreign scholarship and is closing down primary school. Because it means that you will not have any future. After you, there will be no successor. And without successor, you are a failure in life. So that's exactly what is happening. It is now that NSC is now realizing they should put themselves in the position of the telco. Can they burn diesel 24 hours without? Last time they were talking about, Dangote was saying that he has enough diesel. Why don't he supply the diesel to the telco companies? Do you know how much it is to burn a telecom company this thing? Most of the business center, the reason why prices of things are increasing is just because power. You can't operate a business center without light. Do you know what it takes to burn generator for 6 hours? Then you talk about burning generator throughout 24 hours. You know what it takes to repair? Do you know the cost of equipment? That is components of the machine that will burning the DC. Then you are talking about that they should not increase their tariff. NSC should be realistic. When terrorists were being allowed by federal government into Nigeria and they were bombing the, what do you call it, the carriers of the power line, they call them towers, they were breaking down the towers. Was NSC not here? What did it tell federal government that allowed those people to come into this country? Now there is no power. If there were power, telecom company will have a source of powering their DC. There's no power. So they have to do it locally or manually. Then you are telling them not to increase the money. You must be joking. So NSC should bow his head in shame. That thing is avoiding. Federal government will come out one of these days. Boala and the rest of them, you know them now. They will come out one of these days to mention and bring out the money they transfer to their account. That's why they cannot talk. If not, they would have told Bola Tinubu that make the refineries functional, that was the original agreement that NSC had. Why did they put that one under the carpet? And then they are attacking secondary issue. They are joking big time. We joke too much here.
Thank you so much on this, Barrister Mankey. Still on economic crisis, members of the National Youth Service Corps has expressed their disapproval of the federal government's persistent failure to implement the payment of the 77,000 naira allowance. The federal government had approved an increase in the Corps members' monthly allowance from 33,000 naira to 77,000 effective July 2024. In the same year, the Director General of the NYSC, General Yushal Ahmed, stated that the new allowance was implemented due to the non-release of funds. The DG later announced that Corps members would start receiving the 77,000 naira in February 2025. they received only 33,000 naira for their February allowance on Friday. A court member serving in other states accused the federal government of insincerity regarding the payment of the 77,000 naira allowance. You just made mention of this, Barrister Mike. You know, considering the situation of the economic crisis going on in the country, and then 70,000 naira is something you talked about, of someone taking 100,000 naira into the market and see what you can buy with it. You know, 70,000 naira is literally out of it. Then imagine 33,000 naira for court members, you know, and that kind of issue. You know, I would love to get your thoughts on this quickly.
It's sad. You see, it will take people who have a clear understanding how these things work. You know, people can deprive you of legitimate wage to push you into immorality. Do you understand? People can deny you of, because the moment you are not economically empowered, your brain shifts from significance to survival. And the moment survival is what occupies your mind, you are finished. I'm telling you, these are practical things that happen. It's just like monkey, like Alibaba gave a practical example. He said if you put a bunch, let's say a bunch of banana that has 10 what do you call it, 10 pieces on it, and then you put a bundle of 1,000 naira on one hand, monkey will go for the bunch of banana, because it cannot rationalize that this 1,000 naira can buy several bunches. Do you understand it? Now, what the federal, see, this thing they are doing is enhancing corruption, because most core members will not go to work. Within Port Harcourt here, when I leave this studio now, if I want to go to Emenike, I'll pay up to 1,000 naira. Within here, that is money you will pay interstate before. You can look back and say, so time last year, that money can take you to outside state, to Bayelsa. But it's within the state now. Most of the core members will not go to work. And it's going to impact on the children, because most of them are into teaching. It will impact on the life of the children. It will push them into, because this thing, there's a way that, criminality is in chain. I always tell people, lying, pornography, stealing, they are all street mates. When you move from this one can tell you that go to the next door. After my door, go to the next one. That's where you find this one. That is how it is. Just like what the analysis are giving about the telco. You have to look at things, check the consequences on the children. This is what is also going to lead to a situation wherein they will now come to school and say we have to make contribution for copper to come to teach you. Do you understand? That is sitting on the parents automatically.
If I may quickly pause you there quickly, I'm sorry about that. Why do you think the federal government is yet to implement the 77,000 naira that they have actually promised to, pay on to the coppers?
Federal government has no priority for the future. They are after Islamic agenda. Nothing more. You close down school for 5 weeks because of Ramadan, and you don't see anything wrong with it. Come on, you rationalize this thing now. They don't have Boko Haram, no to technology, but they are using sophisticated weapon. A bundle of contradiction. I'm saying this thing because I can't stomach it anymore. The federal government has no plan for the future. When they say science report, how many offices this is the most bloated executive that we have in the history of Nigeria. So anybody they see as a potential opposition, they bring you in. You see how they threaten Peter Obi that, and he has crossed red line, all this David Boyara and the rest of them. He has crossed red line, threatening fire and brimstone and all whatnot. Until we Nigerians decide, the government has no plan for any. That's why, even as the coppers is, any of them who find a way to leave this country, they are go and conduct an interview. There's no nationalism here. No nationalism. I can't die for this country. If I ask you now, can you die for Nigeria? That would be the widest thing you would think about. Is this country worth dying for? Go to Israel. You can feel nationalism. Whether Muslim or a Jew, you can feel, you can see it. There's no nationalism here. There's no citizens here. The system is entrenching criminality. Even the court system is entrenching criminality. I lost a brief some time ago. The person told me openly that I should go and see the magistrate. I told him that's not my practice style. Those who have been accusing me, you will now understand why I threatened that I'm prepared to even burn my wig and gown as a symbolic gesture of protest against the way things are going on in this country. And any lawyer who is delighted in the way things are going, may Nigeria, as presently constituted, happen to you and your family, so that you can feed it properly. So the government has no plan. I'm telling you the gospel truth for the future. No. All they are after is next election. Check all their talks. It's next election. How to win. And it is the court that they are preparing for. And I want a situation where the court system should be shut down in this country by Nigerians. You shut down the court system, retire all the justices, retire them, and recruit people who have Nigeria at heart. We start afresh. Retire them. Do you understand? If not, we are moving into anarchy in this country. One day you can just wake up and see people running on the street, and then they will hack one another. All these people who are on television celebrating evil, they think the internet loses memory. It's keeping all of them. They will play it for them, and they will be begging that they are not the one. Nah, it's not true. They are showcasing themselves and the side of the divide that they belong. And when judgment will come, when the judgment of people, I listened to one documentary by Professor David Hoods. He said every lawyer of experience knows that in any case there is the plaintiff's truth, there is the defendant's truth, there is the witness's truth, there is the judge's truth, and there is another truth which is only known to God. I call that one the fifth truth. That is where we are heading in this country. So you realize that they don't, even the coppers, you saw what they were trying to use coppers to do during elections. They even threaten if they can manipulate justices of the Supreme Court to do what they are doing now. What are you talking about coppers? They just tell them they pay money into their account and say, write what we want you to write. Until that impunity that is manifested in the life of certain Nigerians is checked and brought to judgment by the people who are their victims, we have a crop of ruiners that are in charge of government. There's enough wealth in this country. That does not detract from. There's enough wealth in this country. But they are pocketing, they want to raise few billionaires and millionaires. So at 2027, they will use money and say, if you want, we can give you 10 million naira. I am not attracted by the wealth of an oppressor because I know their end. So the straight answer to your question is that the government has no interest for the future of this country. All they are after is power. You ask somebody that is living with you here who say, give me power, give me power, give me power. Read first, let them go to court. Come on. Are we joking here? We joke too much, oh. And I tell you, things will go so bad to the point that it will affect them. Then they will know that nobody is a monopoly of violence. It's so unfortunate, but this is where we are.
Thank you so much, and this Barrister Manki. Like you stated, the economic situation is something we cannot write home about. We talk about the data, the electricity, petrol, the transportation fare, even feeding. Nothing is left out in it. And then the 33,000 naira allowance for coppers at a stand. It's something that could finish in a day. You know,
what do you mean? You are being very, very, very. How would I call it? You are too gracious about it. What is 33,000 naira now? What can it buy you?
And then to think of the fact that it's something that you get monthly, you know, and then the sacrifice that most of these coppers make, you know, to, you know, serve the country. Some of them go to remote villages to teach.
They make a journey.
Yes, and leave families and take bold decisions and all of that. You know, the government should actually look into this. 77,000 naira is still not enough, but at least it's better than the 33,000 naira that they've been paying.
See, let me tell you, the 33,000 naira. Right? Last year, it's been better than 100,000 now. Let's be realistic. That is the danger of inflation. The 33,000 naira last year, how many bags of cement would 33,000 naira buy you? No, let's just do a fair distance. How many bags of cement would 33,000 naira? How many bags of cement would it have bought for you last year? And how many bags of cement can it buy for you now?
Thank you so much on this, Barrister Mikey. We would have actually continued on this analysis, but unfortunately, this is where we wrap it up on this episode of Blowouts. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, viewers, for still being with us as always. Remember, we are still open for adverts, placements, bookings, and commercials. You can connect with us on all our ATN socials on Facebook and YouTube, on Atlantic Television Network, on Instagram and TikTok, on Atlantic TV Network 1, on Twitter, on Atlantic TV Net. You can watch us live on our website at www.atlantic.net.work.tv. Peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Open conversation comes so shortly. Do not go away. I am Chidima Wadike.